Coming up on WUFT's First at 5, a duo of demonstrations across UF's campus today. The two major issues protesters want UF officials to act on.
And from a small town to the big leagues, a North Central Florida football star is now in the NFL. We'll have more on the surprise picks tied to our area.
Plus, we felt the cool shade of the clouds this afternoon. But how long will they stick around? WUFT's First at 5 starts right now.
First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
For the third consecutive day in a row, students are gathering at the University of Florida for a pro-Palestine protest. This is First at 5. I'm Juan Chaoui.
And I'm Roches. Students rallying for the pro-Palestine movement have demonstrated at the Plaza of the Americas since noon. WUFT's Kennedy Chambers is live at the plaza where protesters say they plan to be there as long as it takes.
Hopefully the sun will go away. At today's protest, they are rallying for UF to divest from companies supporting the war effort. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is taking action against protests that he says could get out of hand. In the midst of these protests across college campuses nationwide, DeSantis is warning students about the potential consequences of these movements, such as expulsion. A representative from the UF Divest Coalition, who didn't want to give their name, said despite these warnings, they are not backing down anytime soon.
My one message is that we will not be intimidated. We know our rights, and we are simply protesting. We're exercising our First Amendment right. We have every right to be here, and we will be here as long as we can.
The representative also mentions they will continue to host these rallies into the weekend and the days following for as long as possible. DeSantis condemns the reactions of Ivy League schools administrations, including Columbia, Harvard, and Yale, for their non-authoritative tactics. Live from the Plaza of the Americas, Kennedy Chambers, WUFT News.
And minutes away from the plaza, also on UF's campus, protesters gathered outside of Tigert Hall to object UF's decision to reduce their funding of the RTS bus system. The protest comes as UF and Gainesville leaders continue to negotiate a new deal.
This protest is the latest development in the battle for the RTS budget. Student Government Senator Nathaniel Pelton was among the protesters, and he says this issue has brought the student body together.
It just took a bunch of student groups, a lot of which normally aren't necessarily partners, but all of whom kind of saw the bus system being defunded as a serious threat to the future of our university.
However, with all the chants and cheers, local police officers showed up to the protest and issued papers defining protest regulations. The list prohibited activities such as no amplified sound, blocking ingress or egress, and no camping. The document also lists possible consequences for violating these terms, like suspension. In an emailed statement, UF Associate Vice President of Communications Steve Orlando said, "We're not negotiating with 9 people on a sidewalk. We're happily sitting down with the city next week, and we assume that all sides want a win-win solution." Despite these restrictions, Pelton says the protesters have only one goal in mind.
We're all together for one reason and one reason only, and that is to save our buses. The buses that we use every day to get together, to get to classes, to go grocery shopping, to get to our jobs, our places of work.
Negotiations between the University of Florida and the City of Gainesville for the new RTS budget are still underway, with the current contract set to expire on June 30th.
According to the city's website, after the current contract expires, they expect UF to sign monthly contracts starting July 1st.
The temperatures have stayed pretty high this week, but the clouds helped keep us cool this afternoon. UF forecaster Mariana Larsen joins us now with just how high temperatures will get this weekend.
Yeah, Mar, you can see on the campus cam right now, those clouds are starting to make an appearance already, and it's feeling like 83 out there because of those clouds, so it's not too cool, but it's not too hot either. Nothing that we can't handle here in North Central Florida. Let's take a look at the temperatures across the map, though. Here in Gainesville is 84, 85. Ocala is 85 as well, but over by St. Augustine, they're pretty lucky. They're only feeling 79 right now. And taking a look into our hour by hour tonight, you can see that it's going to take a little bit, but those temperatures are going to start to dip into the mid-60s, and those clouds are going to be sticking around for tonight, keeping us nice and cool. Back to you guys.
Deputies in Bradford County have arrested 2 more people in connection with a murder that happened earlier this week. Investigators arrested Stephanie Brunson and Thomas Borland Thursday. They are both facing a premeditated murder charge in the stabbing death of Emery Cruz Jr. We told you Wednesday 3 others are facing charges in connection to his death. Tuesday night, he was taken to the hospital with a stab wound to his stomach. Deputies say more suspects could be arrested in this case.
2 more people have died after a chase and crash in Waldo earlier this week. We first brought you the details of this deadly crash Tuesday. Troopers confirmed that 2 other individuals died earlier this week after a pit maneuver caused the vehicle to roll over and hit a cement pole in Waldo. Investigators say this incident started in Alachua County with a stolen SUV. The vehicle crashed into a pole. 1 person was pronounced dead after the crash, another died at the hospital.
Fire crews are investigating what started a fire that killed a person overnight. Ocala Fire Rescue received the call around 11 after a neighbor alerted authorities that her neighbor's home on Northeast 1st Avenue was on fire. Rescue crews say they had trouble fighting the fire from the inside as a fallen power line prevented access to a water supply. After the fire was contained, the rescue team found the victim within the home. There was no one else at the home at the time of the fire.
A houseless community in Gainesville is being forced to relocate. This development comes after Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 1365. The bill makes sleeping in public places illegal. On April 24th, the houseless community near St. Francis House woke up to eviction notices zip-tied to their tents. The notice gave them 3 days to move or their belongings would be removed by the Gainesville Police Department. Mary Phillips says she doesn't have anywhere else to go.
This is just uncivilized for us, right? Even though we're homeless, we're still human. We're still people, right? If we don't fight for each other, who's gonna fight for us?
St. Francis House had to suspend daily services due to a lack of funding. Houseless individuals have been unable to rely on the shelter for food, showers, bathrooms, and case management services. St. Francis House Executive Director Lori Schiffbauer says she expects the services to resume Monday.
North Central Florida was front and center during the first round of the NFL Draft last night. WUFT's Jamie Goldman joins us live in the studio with what some sports analysts say were surprise picks.
Gators wide receiver Ricky Pearsall and Williston native Quinion Mitchell will now suit up for the San Francisco 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles. We've been telling you all about Pearsall all week, but what we didn't say was just how high his draft stock was going.
We are 49ers!
Gators football posted this moment on their social media pages. Pearsall was the 31st pick and will be another offensive weapon for the team that came up short in this year's Super Bowl. Moving back to pick 22, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Mitchell, a defensive back from Toledo University. Mitchell graduated from Williston Middle High School back in 2019 and spent the last 4 years in Toledo. In his first interview as an Eagle, he says it's time to get to work.
Yeah, I feel like everything happened for a reason. I mean, I'm in the right fit. I'm with the right organization right now. So, I feel good. I'm excited, and I'm ready to get to work.
Eagles brass says Mitchell stood out at this year's Senior Bowl and knew he would be a good fit with their organization. I'll have more on the surprising Ricky Pearsall pick and how he can make an immediate impact for his new team coming up in the Sports Block. But for now, live in the studio, Jamie Goldman, WUFT Sports.
Former Florida Governor Bob Graham was laid to rest today, and more than 1,000 mourners as he lined the state capitol this morning. Graham was hailed as a consummate public servant and a champion of the environment. He died on April 17th at the age of 87. Graham was taken by the Florida Highway Patrol to the Capitol and then to the Oakland Cemetery for a private ceremony. There will be a memorial service in his hometown of Miami Lakes on May 11th to commemorate the loss of the governor.
Governor Ron DeSantis has chosen a UF graduate to serve as a judge in the 5th Judicial Circuit Court. Charles Helm graduated from UF in 2011. He's been serving as a judge in Citrus County since 2021. Helm will replace Judge Anthony Tati after his resignation.
Coming up next on First at 5, how Alachua County leaders and neighbors are making a mark on the environment.
And how one virtual way of gaming may become a legitimate sport in Florida. All this and more next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
The growing popularity of gaming has caught the eye of Florida's governing body of high school athletics. WUFT's Emilio Boutros is live in the studio with the proposal to make esports official when it comes to competition.
Recently, the Florida High School Sports Athletic Association began discussing the possibility of sanctioning esports as an official high school sport, but not everyone is on board with this new proposal. Esports has had an unprecedented amount of growth, even expanding into high schools, allowing schools to bring esports into academia, causing the Florida High School Athletic Association to consider sanctioning esports as an official sport in the Sunshine State. Esports coach for Christopher Columbus High School, Eduardo Sanchez, says there's a massive esports community in high schools that would support FHSAA's decision.
That several high schools are increasing and talking to the FHSAA and letting them know that we want esports to be a thing. In the current league that we play in right now, Vanta, we already have several high schools all out of Florida that are playing hyper-competitive matches.
Athletic Director for Eastside High School, Derek Gonsolin, doesn't believe it's a wise investment.
Do I want esports? Probably not. One reason I have not pursued esports at Eastside High School was it seems to have been falling off, and I see less interest in at least having it be financially successful for esports beyond the college or high school levels.
According to the New York Times, the League Championship Series, which is the biggest U.S. esports league, is down 32% in viewership from its original peak of 14.8 million hours viewed. Gonsolin says if FHSAA were to officially sanction esports, he would have to consider it regardless of his feelings.
It has to be something I think that's either started by the FHSAA or I have more interest shown to me before I would pursue it. So if it starts and they say, hey, we're going to do it, then yes, I would probably look into it.
At this point, it's still a thought up for consideration. As of right now, FHSAA is still in the early stages of this process, and an official decision is not expected to be made in the near future. Live from the studio, Emilio Buchos, WFT News.
The Arbor Day festivities continue as the Alachua County Tree Planting Program will be hosting an Arbor Day event. The goal of the event is to plant 25 new street trees to assist in the transformation of the community. Environmentalists say the vitality of trees are crucial to our environment as they moderate temperatures, help reduce noise pollution, as well as help absorb water and air pollution. The event will be tomorrow along the Southwest Tower Road pedestrian path at 10 a.m. For more information, you can go to Alachua County's website at alachuacounty.us.
FHP is cautioning drivers in 2 north central Florida counties to be careful on the road due to several prescribed burns. Troopers say right now there is a nearly 200-acre burn at the River Rise Preserve State Park in Alachua County. This is a live look at the area that's expected to be impacted. The smoke may impact travel on County Road 236 and nearby roadways. The burn is expected to last throughout the night and into tomorrow morning. Drivers are reminded to reduce their speed and have on their low light beams to adapt to the changing conditions. And in Columbia County, drivers are warned to watch out for smoke on Highway 441. Troopers say there is a 165-acre burn happening within the Olena State Park. We're told smoke from this prescribed burn will also linger throughout the night and into the morning.
We're going to have a slight chance of showers over the weekend. Stick around after the break and I'll tell you when you can bask in the sun and when you should go inside.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back and happy Friday. I know Mother Nature is enjoying today because look at that sky out there. This is Crystal River, by the way. It's 88 out there and they're getting a slight breeze, so it is a beautiful day out there and it's such a nice day to be out on the water. And across north central Florida, we are seeing the same temperatures. It's looking nice overall. 84 here in Gainesville and 82 in Palatka. Now, if you take a look, you can see kind of a pattern here. You can tell that out in Jacksonville and St. Augustine, they're having a little bit of cooler temperatures than over in Cedar Key and Cross City. It's feeling like 86 over there, and that is because of the wind patterns. Now we're seeing winds coming in from the Atlantic and moving along the state. So over in the East Coast, they're seeing a little bit of cooler temperatures and that wind is making its way through, but not enough to get to the West Coast. Sorry, guys. But anyways, let's move on to the hour by hour for tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to see temperatures in the mid-60s tonight. Those clouds are going to stick around and we're going to have a cool night tonight. It's going to feel nice for most of us across the board. If you take a look here, you can see that we're going to be seeing those temperatures all across north central Florida. So we're all going to get those nice and cool temperatures, well, while we're sleeping anyways. Taking a look at tomorrow, we're going to get a slight cool down. So in the morning, we're going to see those mid-60s again, and it's going to heat up just a little bit, but not too much. And we're going to see those clouds come back and make another appearance. Now with those clouds, we're going to see some rain as well. Take a look here. We are going to have about a 20% chance of rain in our area, so I wouldn't completely rule out the rain in your forecast. I know I'm not ruling it out in mine. We're going to see most of those storms take place in the mid-afternoon, but by the time the afternoon makes its leave, we're going to see those showers make their leave as well. Now, let's move on. We're going to see nice temperatures throughout the weekend. As I mentioned, we're gonna see those temperatures hitting a high in the lower 80s, but just because the temperatures look nice, that doesn't mean it's not gonna feel hot outside. Let's take a look at our muggy meter and see it's gonna feel pretty muggy. You might feel sweaty and sticky while you're outside because those dew points are in the 60s for the most part. Now let's move on to our 7-day. Just a second, and like I said, we're gonna have a cool down, but in the next week, we're gonna see them be back to business in the upper 80s and 90s. Jamie?
Coming up in sports, former Gator Ricky Pearsall finds his new NFL home after being drafted in the first round last night. Plus, Gators baseball looks to get back on track as they head to Arkansas. All that and more after break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Happy Friday. I'm Jamie Goldman. Let's talk sports. Gators baseball hits the road for another SEC series tonight, this time facing the red-hot Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas is ranked as the #2 team in the nation, posting a 34-6 record through 40 games. Florida is looking for a much-needed bounce back this weekend after dropping their past 3 SEC series. Lefty Pyrrhus Coppola will be on the mound for the Gators tonight, and first pitch has been moved up to 7 tonight due to anticipated inclement weather. Gators softball also has a 3-game SEC road series beginning tonight, but they'll be heading to Athens to face their rival, the Georgia Bulldogs. After a red-hot start to the season, the Gators have cooled off recently, going 4-6 in their last 10 games. They'll also look to get back on track tonight as Keegan Rothrock will be getting the start in the circle for the Gators. First pitch is set for 6. In last night's NFL draft, former Gator Ricky Pearsall was selected 31st overall by the San Francisco 49ers. After impressing at the Combine, Pearsall's draft stock continued to climb, yet still most experts had him going in the second round. So it was a bit of a surprise that the Niners took him that early. In his last season at Florida, Pearsall had 65 receptions, 965 receiving yards, and 6 total touchdowns. He joins an already loaded 49ers offense that features stars like Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. One final note before we go, Gators basketball center Micah Hanlockton has decided to redshirt next season given his injury that ended his season last year. So the Gators will be without their 7-foot center next season, a big blow to Todd Golden's squad.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, before we go, we got one last check on the weather.
All right, so we are going to see that cool down take place this weekend, but on Monday, it's going to be back to business in the mid-80s and even 90s at the end of next week.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of First at 5.
Even though the show is over for today, your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all of our social media platforms. Have a good night.